Okay, so let's dive into this really incredible story. It's all about how a forgotten dance, of all things, might just hold a secret to building real community in our pretty disconnected world.
I mean, it's a real paradox, right? We've got more ways to communicate than at any point in human history, but a lot of us feel more disconnected than ever. There's this term for it, social dispersion. It's this quiet weakening of the bonds that tie us all together. It's like we're drifting apart, even when we're constantly plugged in.
And you can really see this playing out in art. I mean, think about it. For centuries, communities were defined by the songs they sang together, the dances they all knew. It was part of their identity. But now, art is mostly something we consume, right? We watch it, we listen to it, usually alone. It's become a performance, not something we actually create together.
So, where do we look for an answer? Well, what if the solution to this very modern problem is hiding in the story of a very unlikely hero, a dance called the mazurka?
Okay, the history of the mazurka is just a wild ride. It starts out as this humble peasant dance in Poland. Then, boom, the 1830s hit. Polish refugees, including the famous composer Chopin, bring it to Paris, and it becomes this absolute sensation in the high society salons. From there, it kind of trickles down into rural France, where it adapts and changes in all these little villages. But fast forward to the 1970s, and it's pretty much gone, almost completely forgotten.
So, when these folklife collectors in the 20th century finally stumble upon the last remnants of this dance in the villages, they were not impressed. They basically looked down their noses at it. They called it, and this is a direct quote, bâtard illégitime, illegitimate, a bastardized form of the real thing. They just saw it as a cheap copy of the fancy salon dance. It wasn't pure enough for them, so they just ignored it.
And this right here, this gets to the heart of the story. It's this fundamental clash between two completely different ways of knowing things. On one side, you've got the savant, the scholarly way. It's analytical, it's written down, it's all about aiming for technical perfection. Think of it as the big highways of communication. But on the other side, you have the traditional, the intuitive way. This is learned by doing, by imitating, passed down from person to person. The goal isn't perfection, it's participation. And this happens in these little protected communities, these enclaves.
And here is the big twist, the crucial insight of this whole story. Being rejected by the experts was the absolute best thing that could have happened to the mazurka. Seriously. Because they ignored it, the dance was left alone to grow and change in these isolated little pockets, these enclaves, totally protected from all the rules and analysis. And that's what allowed it to become something completely new and unique.
So that brings us to a specific place, a tiny village in the Gascony region of France called Saint-Martin. And this little town became the unlikely epicenter for the dance's incredible comeback.
What happened in Saint-Martin was this kind of incubation process. Here's how it works. You take an art form, you isolate it in a protected space for a really long time. People practice it intuitively. They learn it just by watching and doing. And over generations, it just soaks up the local flavor, the identity of that place, until it becomes this unique expression of that one community. It's something you can't just write down or copy easily.
And the mazurka that came out of this process in Saint-Martin, it was just different. It was less jumpy than the original, way more flowing and kind of mysterious. And the craziest part, when you asked the old-timers how to do it, they couldn't tell you. They couldn't break down the steps. They had no words for it. They just felt it. They knew it in their bodies. It was completely theirs. And it's this very specific, intuitive version that becomes the blueprint for the entire modern revival of the mazurka all across Europe.
Okay, so that's the big question, right? How did this super local, intuitive dance suddenly explode in popularity across an entire continent? Well, the answer is fascinating. It's all about how people started creating new, modern enclaves.
Picture a modern folk festival. During the day, it's all about that savant approach we talked about. You go to these workshops, and an instructor breaks down the steps of the Saint-Martin mazurka, piece by piece. You're analyzing it, you're counting, you're learning it in this very conscious, methodical way.
But then, the night comes, and that's when the real magic happens. Deep into the night, in these crowded dance halls, something shifts. After hours and hours of dancing, you're tired. Your brain is tired. And all that analytical thinking from the workshop, it just melts away. You stop counting, you stop trying to get the steps perfect. You and your partner and the musicians, you just connect on a purely intuitive level.
And this is it. This is how a new, living tradition is actually born. That exhaustion, that fatigue, it creates the perfect conditions for a shared, intuitive experience to take over. In those late-night sessions, people aren't just repeating what they learned in a workshop, no way. They are co-creating something new, together, right there in the moment.
So, when you step back, you see that the story of the mazurka is so much more than just a dance. It's really a powerful blueprint, a model for how we can forge real, meaningful connections in our fragmented modern world.
And the key here is that we can't just try to copy the past. You know, those old, isolated villages, those enclaves, they're gone. So instead, the challenge for us is to actively invent new enclaves. We need to create our own protected spaces, whether they're physical or just temporary, where we can develop these shared intuitive practices, away from the constant noise and analysis of those great highways of communication.
And this completely reframes what we mean by tradition, doesn't it? It's not about preserving some dusty old thing from the past, like an artifact in a museum. A real, living tradition is a process. It's something that's alive, that's breathing. It's about actively participating in a community and learning a shared language, not by studying it, but by doing it.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last really powerful question to think about. For the mazurka, the new enclaves were found in the late-night dance halls of folk festivals. So for us, in our own lives, surrounded by all the noise and distraction, where are our enclaves? Where can we build those protected spaces to connect, to create, and to just practice the simple, powerful art of being a community?